welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Honolulu. My name is Eleanor Kleiber, and I will be your worship associate this morning. We are a welcoming and open community. Come in and share our mission to boldly grow compassion, justice, and joy. We will joyfully grow joy all the time. You are welcome in this place on this morning. Our beloved church community is led by our minister, Reverend Dr. Jennifer Kapuna Kwong. Reverend Jennifer is away this week, and today's service will be led by Martina Queen. I forgot this the first service. Thank you. And we also have Annie Green up here for the first time doing the opening words. Thank you, Annie. Is there anybody up here in front who is shorter than me, who has never lit the chalice before? You might be taller than me, but that's okay. Oh, I'm still taller, yes. Okay. So do you know how to do this? Just push it that way as we say these words together. So please be aware that these words are slightly different than we usually do, so pay attention. We light this beacon of hope with joys and sorrows on our quest for truth, meaning, and community. We honor the tradition of Yom Kippur by looking inward, contemplating our past year, and starting fresh in love. Thank you so much. I will now hand it over to Katie for our story for all ages. Would you like the clicker? Oh.
I can't just talk like Eleanor and have my voice project. All right. Okay, so any children of all ages who'd like to come down and join us, that would be great. So we studied Yom Kippur last week in Ari. So these children are extremely well versed on forgiveness. So if you have anything that you need to talk to them about, now is a great day. So today we are going to be telling the story of Jonah. Who remembers that story from last week? Hands up. That's right. Good job. So this is Jonah. And one day, God said to Jonah that he needed to go to Nineveh and tell the people there that they needed to change their wicked ways. And what did Jonah say? Did he say, I'll go? Yeah. He said no. He said, I'm not going to go. In fact, he so much didn't want to go that he turned around and went the other direction from Nineveh. And he boarded a ship in the other direction. So there he is. He gets on that ship. While he was on the ship, what happened? A storm. And it tossed and was terrible and awful and threw everything everywhere. And all of the sailors on the ship had to throw all their cargo over into the ocean to try to save the ship. And eventually the captain went down and said to Jonah, please stop this terrible storm. Because that captain knew that Jonah was running away from doing something that God told him to do. And Jonah didn't really want to stop the storm. And so eventually the sailors did what? They threw him off of the ship. And a whale gobbled him up. There he is. There it is. But the seas got calm and the ship was saved. And so those sailors felt pretty good about that. And I particularly like this picture because of all of the detritus in the ocean. So you can see there's even an octopus is like looking out. I don't know if you can see that. His eyes are like big circles. You see him? Okay. All right. So, what did Jonah get eaten up by that whale? Yes. He kind of did, but he was swallowed whole. And so he spent 3 days and 3 nights sitting in that whale and thinking about what he had not done, which was go to Nineveh as he was supposed to do. And so he thought and thought and thought. And eventually, what did he do? He prayed and he said that's right. He said, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And so the whale spat him up on this beautiful section of land, paradise basically. And Jonah said, well, I am going to have to do the thing that I said because I am sorry to God, so now I'm going to go to Nineveh. And so he went to Nineveh, and the people there had been being very mean to each other. They had been doing unkind things for so long. And Jonah went there and he said, you have been doing unkind things and you need to stop because otherwise God will punish you. And he went because he knew that even though they had been unkind, they were still worthy of being saved. They were still worthy of being forgiven. So all the people of Nineveh said, "Oh, we're so sorry. Please forgive us for our wicked and mean ways, and we will be better." And God forgave them, and he didn't punish the city of Nineveh. And there it is. And it stayed on just as nice as it could possibly be. So even if you do rotten things, you can still be forgiven by your friends and your family, and you're still important and good. All right, so with that, we're going to sing these children upstairs to continue their study of Jewish holy days.
Let's make a bridge and sing them off to their program. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Shalom. Oh, come on, you can do better than that. Shalom. So for Yom Kippur, I picked out 5 words that really represented Yom Kippur for me: atonement, reconciliation, abstinence, forgiveness, and fasting. So atonement, even though Unitarians don't use the word sin, I'd like to explain what it really means. It is a translation of a Greek word, and the Greek word for sin really means missing the mark. It's an archery term. So how many people missed the mark this past year? I think I passed it at least 17,000 times. So let's see, then reconciliation for us is balancing our lives in relationship with one another. So look in your life and see if there's somebody that you think that might be better if you approach them in a different way. Don't leave it up to them, it's up to us. How can we make our relationships even better? Say you're holding a grudge against somebody. Is it really about them or you? Take a look at that and think back in the past. Abstinence. Abstinence really means purifying the body to match the soul, and the soul being the representation of spirit, that is the energy of spirit in and around us. And forgiveness. For me, forgiveness isn't the regular word that we use about forgiving somebody because they did something wrong. Forgiveness for me is about taking back your power. Say you're holding a grudge against somebody for some argument you had, some disagreement, and that person goes on with their life. They don't even know that you've got this stuff going on in your head. They wouldn't care either, probably. But anyway, for forgiveness is forgiving you back your power. You take back your power and say, I forgive myself for holding that person in judgment. Understand the difference? Sorry, I always make my congregations nod or something. So the last one is fasting. And that means releasing toxins, whether they're physical, mental, or spiritual, that are not in line with our true self. So I like this idea because in Yom Kippur you fast, from sundown to sundown. So it's like a little mini diet. How can you give yourself a little mini diet and fast from the ways that may have not been so lovely within you? How can you bring about the love? How can you bring about the charity, the compassion, the justice that we need to practice every day? Just remind ourselves. Sometimes I'm not so charitable to myself. Any of the rest of you like that? Nod. I saw one nod. Good. Okay. So when you say those things to yourself, I'm so stupid, or I shouldn't have done it that way, or I should be smarter, or I should be something else, really what I'd like you to do is take a moment, take that word out of your vocabulary and say, I forgive myself, I move on. Shalom.
Please read with me responsively. The spirit of time is woven about 2 books, the Torah and the legendary Book of Life. According to the legend on Rosh Hashanah, the new year, the angel of life writes each of our destinies for the year to come. During the 10 days following the days of awe, the book of life is kept open. With self-examination, it might be possible to alter that future. Today, we are called to review how we have lived our lives in the past year. All vows, all promises we have made to ourselves in this last year, all commitments to unswerving thought, opinion, and behavior are now canceled. We are free to re-examine all of our motivations and desires and all the roads we have chosen to walk. Today we are called to look at how we may live our lives in the year to come. We have been given freedom to choose to be better human beings, even in this world where it often seems as if so many behave without compassion, justice, or joy. We contemplate this moment by asking the questions asked by Rabbi Hillel long ago. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? But if I am only for myself, what am I? This month's sermon topic at First Unitarian is conflict transformation. How appropriate as we contemplate our relationships during Yom Kippur, when we think about the past year, admit our mistakes, and ask for and give forgiveness. We are social beings. Only the most reclusive of us shy away from all human contact. It's just our nature, probably ingrained in us from well before caveman days. But with relationships, be they personal, social, familial, political, tribal, cultural, or religious, there is also the possibility of conflict. We are constantly reminded of our human fallibility. Our humility and our humanness contain the source of our connection with all people, and that connection is our strength. The subject of right relations is one that has discussed not only by UUs, but also by generations of Hebrew scholars as they pored over the Talmud through the millennia. The Talmud contains the teachings and opinions of thousands of rabbis on a variety of subjects, including law, Jewish ethics, philosophy, customs, and history. More recently, human relationship has been subject for a group of scholars at the Harvard Negotiation Project from a volume titled Difficult Conversations, which approaches the challenge of managing the normal messiness of human interaction with that each one of us encounters in our lives. As the authors see it, there are 3 common mistakes that most of us make when we encounter some kind of social friction with another person. The first mistake is that we often try to prove that we're right and the other person is wrong. This triggers defensiveness in most people, and by framing a conflict as being about right and wrong, we mistakenly claim that the conflict is over facts or data. In reality, the vast majority of conflicts are grounded in differences of interpretation, judgment, and values, which are sometimes dressed up as facts. Each person's interpretations is grounded in their own knowledge, experience, and belief. If we believe that the truth is at stake, there is really no room for forward movement. But if we come to understand that the need to be right is a misplaced objective, we may be able to free ourselves up to explore the other person's story, which will give us insight as to how they see a situation so very differently from the way we do. The second mistake is that we assume that we understand the intention behind the other person's behavior. In situations where we really aren't sure about someone's intentions, we tend to believe their intentions were negative. This is not useful because no matter how intuitive we believe ourselves to be, our assessment of another person's intuitions will more often than not turn out to be more reflective of our own inner state than of the other person's. It makes much more sense to approach the question of intentions through conversation with a person from a stance of inquiry rather than from assumption of certainty. The last of the three major errors that human beings make to assign blame is going down the path tends to fortify disagreement rather than to help it move forward with resolution. And that's assigning blame. This is because, as the authors of Difficult Conversations put it, nobody wants to be blamed, especially unfairly. So our energy goes into defending ourselves at all costs. Yet, an even more detrimental outcome of this approach is that it completely shuts down the learning process. We are unlikely to gain a deeper understanding of why and how a situation arose when we seek to lay responsibility squarely on the shoulders of one participant. So if we can frame the question of responsibility as one which is shared, then we approach the problem with an authentic desire to figure out how each person has contributed to the conflict. We are in a much better position to actually move in the direction of resolution and to prevent similar issues from arising in the future. What ties together each of these recommendations is the commitment to seeing the negativity between two people as a learning opportunity for both parties rather than as an assault that is met with verbal ammunition or internal disparagement towards the other person. As we reflect on our own lives during this service and set our intentions for the coming year, may we all see ourselves and others with greater clarity and compassion. Let each one of us be willing to work on shifting our approach to dealing with people and the situations that stir us up in a negative way. Let us aspire to claim that we have truly embraced the golden rule. I now want to leave you with three important concepts as we come to a close of this homily. The first one is teshuvah. The starting place is within. The Hebrew word teshuvah means repentance, but it can also mean a return. Teshuvah implies a returning within, to examine the reality of who you are, spiritually as well as intellectually. Returning to your inner reality can give you the power to create the changes that you must make for the survival of your true self. Teshuvah asks for self-reflection and for insight. That is the starting place, the only one there is. The next word is tefillah. The starting place is within. Tefillah means prayer, but it is also a mirror. To pray is to mirror within, to see ourselves as we are, and to maybe see a hint of powers beyond our beseeching, powers beyond our reach. But we can know surely what is within, what our own loyalties and conscience urge, what good sense and affection bid us to do. That is the starting place. There is only one. The starting place is within for tzedakah. Tzedakah means more than righteousness. It means listening to your deepest intuition of what is right and necessary for you. That is the starting place, the only one there is. May it be so.